Well, yesterday you watched the instructional video at the beginning of lesson 1.10, but today we'll actually be getting into the lesson and performing its activities. Lesson 1.10 presents to you supplementary vocabulary, mainly nouns which accompany the first 5 verbs that you've learned up to this point. Today you'll be working with that vocabulary, putting those words along with the corresponding 5 verbs into complete sentences. Affirmative sentences, negative sentences, and questions formed in 2 different ways before you'll finish off the lesson with a brief self-description that you'll give over the course of 1 minute. You'll time yourself, and using the images at the end, in the very last section of lesson 1.10, you'll talk about yourself. You'll describe yourself based on the limited vocabulary that you have at this point. However, before you actually go to lesson 1.10, I'd like to point out to you a feature of the ULAT of which you may not be aware. It's the Lexicon, and it's a feature which can enable you not only to review vocabulary, but also to hone, to perfect your pronunciation of this vocabulary. So let's go see it right now. Okay, here you see we're inside the portion of the website where the specific instructions for each day's activities are located. And if we want to go to the Lexicon, which is our goal, of course, we could go right here to point number 2. It says click here to access the lexicon and to familiarize yourself with how the lexicon can help you review vocabulary and perfect your pronunciation. So I click there and it takes me right to the French lexicon for Unit 1. However, I like to do this in a more roundabout manner because you won't always be on this particular page. So let me take you to the home page and show you how you can access the lexicon from almost any point within the ULAT. I'm going to go to Lessons, and then we'll choose French, of course, and then Unit 1. Now, once we're within Unit 1, already we can access it. You see this button right here. This is the symbol for the lexicon. It's a composite of a variety of different pictures of nouns, verbs, pronouns found within Unit 1. So I can click on it already right here, or I can go inside, let's say, take lesson 1.10, which is a lesson we're working on today, and you see the same button is found up here to the upper right hand side. So I can access it from any lesson or from the table of contents as well. Let me click therefore on this button. It takes us to the table of contents of the lexicon. Now here you see there are 4 different categories of terms which are referenced within the lexicon. Here we have personal pronouns, je, tu, il, elle, etc. Here we have the verbs, habiter, faire, écouter. Here we have nouns, specific items or pictures of items or objects that are typically spoken about when one uses these verbs found in Unit 1. And down at the bottom you see 3 images from a scenario where a young girl is speaking to a gentleman, and they'll use polite conversational expressions such as hello, how are you, nice to meet you, as they speak with each other. So this last category corresponds to polite conversational expressions. Let's take a look at just one of these categories. We'll take the verbs. I'll click on these red shirted pictures right there, and that takes me to the page which contains all of the verbs that you will learn in Unit 1. Now I'll go back to the top and look at just the first 5 verbs that you've learned. And the first thing you can do with a lexicon is to test yourself on vocabulary. You can look at the picture and see if you can come up with a word. Now don't go in this order. Habiter, faire, écouter, laver, dire. We tend to always go in the same order, and it's almost like we're memorizing a poem. Habiter, faire, écouter, laver, dire. I can say that without really thinking about what I'm saying. So change the order, change it up a little bit. Point at pictures out of sequence and try to say the word. Laver, faire, dire, habiter, écouter. Now that's the first part, is the first benefit of the lexicon, is you can test yourself in vocabulary. Of course you need to verify whether what you said is correct or not, and that leads us to the second benefit of the lexicon, and that is the chance to perfect your pronunciation. Watch what happens when I click on one of these pictures.
Habiter.
As you see, it opens up a video of me pronouncing the word, a close-up of me pronouncing the word.
Faire. Faire.
Of course, what you'd want to do is just not only watch how I pronounce it, but repeat after me, try to imitate.
Écouter. écouter,
And that's the same for not just the verbs. You'll find that for the pronouns as well as the nouns, as well as the polite conversational expressions as well. And so the lexicon is a very beneficial portion of the website. Make sure you make good use of it. Okay, that's it for today. You may at this point proceed to point number 2, which is about the lexicon, and then I'll see you in the course of tomorrow's class. Au revoir.